Callum Brown.
Callum
He's a
Brown.
chip off the old block. His father, Gavin Brown, won a premiership with Collingwood. He was previously in the leadership group. Gavin Brown was with Nathan Buckley. So, Nathan Buckley Callum could be making his debut. He was close to making his debut against Freo. Ben Crocker didn't have an outstanding game against Freo.
Had an absolute crocker.
And, well,
Barry Crocker.
There you go. Good pun there. But because he barely touched the ball, but he kicked a vital goal. Jeez. There could be a straight swap there. I'm not going to say this like I did with Luke Ryan, that like he will play. No. He's a gun though. Like, he's really clean with the footy. He's not a super tall player, but he's really competitive, and he's been performing really well at VFL level. And he's good mates with Josh Dacos there. So they have, Josh Dacos, Callum Brown, just like, real legends of the Collingwood Football Club. They could be making a debut this season. Callum Brown in particular could be making his debut in the Queen's birthday. Do you remember, Michael, Jack Watts made his debut in the Queen's birthday?
One of the biggest crunching tackles I reckon I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was his
about
introduction.
6 players jumping on top of him. Yep, that was his very first disposal. He did end up getting the free kick. However, I don't think you forget something like that.
No.
I think Alan Didak got in there, said a couple of words, as he, characteristically does. It's certainly a place where it's a great place to get blooded, I think, the Queen's Birthday Clash. It's a little bit more heated than Anzac Day. I think Anzac Day, it's just, the crowd factor is just, and just the occasion is such a spine-tingling thing. But I think going into the Queen's Birthday Clash, you can expect it to be physical. It usually doesn't. It usually doesn't often, get the huge crowds like Anzac Day does. But I tell you what, the physicality of those games is quite brutal. And so, if this guy gets introduced, he could get crunched.
Everything's on the line in this game.
It certainly
we were talking about this before. On the ladder, Melbourne are one spot above Collingwood. And is that by percentage?
We're going to have a look now.
Yeah, we're going to have a look right now.
I think it is. It comes down to percentage. There you go. Oh, I think Melbourne, because of that bye, they're 5-5. Collingwood are 5-6.
Oh, that's a good point.
But after this, if Collingwood win, then they actually they will leapfrog Melbourne and potentially leapfrog the West Coast Eagles as well. So that's quite big. Of course, Collingwood haven't had their bye yet, but they will have it next week. So you would think they got to give it their all before that bye. They can have a rest for a week after this game.
This really is a make or break.
Give it their all.
Yeah, especially for Collingwood. Like you said, Melbourne have already had their bye, so Collingwood haven't had it yet. This is a must-win game for Collingwood. It's been a must-win game for a few games now. Collingwood, it's going to be a huge midfield battle. The likes of Nathan Jones, Dom Tyson against Adam Treloar, Scott Pendlebury, Daniel Wells.
Huge, isn't it?
His loss hurts quite big because he's just a real class user. One of the best, statistically speaking, one of the best users inside 50. That statistic there's connected to Daniel Wells' name quite often. You hear David King talking about it quite a bit. One thing that's been hurting Collingwood has been their efficiency by foot, both in front of goal and leading towards it. It's something they need to fix. Callum Brown is just a young player. He's got good kicking. Scharenberg is a very good decision maker, but Collingwood, they're just not kicking the ball that well. And if they do this against Melbourne, I don't think they're going to be as easily forgiven as they were with Freo.
Yep, your inaccuracy has been something that has been quite significant this season. A lot of games have been won and lost in those moments when you need to kick those pretty crucial goals. A lot of the times you have, but there's been a lot of times where you haven't. Should have thrashed Freo last week if you look at the scorecard. You booted 3 goals, 5, 1 shot out on the full in the opening term, so you could have put it away very early. You only had that lead by about 10 points in that first quarter. You had all the play going for you, all of the chances up forward happening. You remain 17th in the competition for goal kicking. Of course, we probably know who 18th is, probably Brisbane, but 17th in the league. That's pretty hard, and unless you fix it up, there's no kind of September dream this year, I don't think.
No, it's just such a crucial part of the game.
It is.
Especially, leading inside 50. That used to be the Achilles heel, and it still is a little bit, but not to the extent it was before. There's a new featherweight champion, and his name is Max Holloway. Both of these fighters have versed Conor McGregor, and both have lost. Joe Rogan, who's a UFC commentator, said this probably, this loss hurts Aldo's legacy as one of the greatest featherweights of all time.
Well, that's right.
Not necessarily in that context. He was more referring to actually, I'll take that back. He was referring to Conor McGregor and how he KO'd Jose Aldo. So that kind of, in one way or another, stains his legacy a little bit, just to the neutral observer, to someone who's been watching UFC for a while. They'd know that Jose Aldo has been a phenomenal champion over the years until he faced Conor McGregor.
10 years without a loss.
When someone is just on the bottom and they're just getting punches,
it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It really isn't a good look. Not only are they getting, quite badly hurt, but it just doesn't look great. It's hard to watch. A lot of people like that bloodthirstiness. They like that kind of sense of revenge, and it kind of gets particular fans, I think, fired up. But equally, you take that vengeance out and you go, wow, this is this player. If you think about future down the track, there could be some serious damage being done, some serious potentially mental damage being done, because a lot of those punches can be to the head, because that's what they're trying to protect as they're being hit. So I personally don't like the look of it. I think it's a good thing where the referee does intervene and say, look, that's enough. You're clearly not going to come back from this. Let's just be frank about it.
Yeah, and
what's your opinions on it?
Yeah, it was the right call. It was the right call, like you said there. The damage that someone can inflict. What's the point when the outcome's already determined with the damage he was inflicting? Right. Even one of Jose Aldo's coaches said that, despite Aldo's opinion that it stopped a little early. The thing is, though, fighters, they want to keep going. They want to keep going, and that's just a natural part of their personality. It's something you have to respect.
That's right.
And that's why you have a referee. Otherwise, if it was up to them, some of them would just fight to the death.
Well, that's right. They probably would. They probably have this killer instinct, this quite literal killer instinct.
Kill or be killed.
I often think back, like, you remember back in the day we used to do the beep test, Jonathan. Yep. He's shaking with very unsettling. It's very unsettling. I remember for a lot of those, I would run. I'd do okay. But as soon as I'd finish, about 5 minutes after I finally picked myself off the ground and regained consciousness, I would go. I could have done another 5 levels. And you always think after you get through something that you can do more, but quite often you can't.